Now, good evening, Chris. Welcome to the Transfer Insiders.
Jason, Darren, good evening to you.
Hey, mate.
Appreciate your company. I read a great piece in the Athletic today regarding Spurs about what they need to do, the players they need to bring in, players they need to get rid of. And at the moment, it's just noise. Is there a fear that this noise might not develop into what you actually do need?
Well, there's a lot of hope, but there is mixed expectation among the fan base because, of course, all Tottenham Hotspur fans are very used to transfer windows being linked to the highest quality players and then not quite getting them over the line. But we do need to do a lot of business in this transfer window. And Postecoglou officially starts the job in a week's time, next Saturday. It looks like we're going to get a goalkeeper over the line in the next couple of days. That's great news. But defensively, we need defensive reinforcements. We need that creative player. We haven't had that creative player since Christian Eriksen left the club. So many players last season underperformed. Of course, we've gone from Pochettino to Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, haven't been successful, haven't won a trophy in 15 years. But Ange Postecoglou has come into the club and his to-do list is absolutely huge because at the moment, although we go away to Australia on pre-season tour in 3 weeks' time. He doesn't have coaching staff as yet. We don't have a director of football. The performance director is going to be leaving in the next couple of days. So many things need to happen on the pitch, off the pitch. There is a lot to do.
I mean, Chris, you talk about what Spurs need, and of course, Kulusevski signing on, quite a good deal actually in the end. So that's a bit of good news. But one massive bit of news could be the arrival of James Maddison. I mean, how important do you think it is for Ange Postecoglou to make a statement signing like that in his first real signing?
Absolutely. We do need statement signings as a football club. I think James Maddison would be a great addition. I thought this when he played for Norwich, actually, and then he ended up going to Leicester. But, as I said, that James Maddison type player coming in, he would certainly fill the role of Christian Eriksen because we've lacked creativity. In the last couple of years, we've gone round in circles as a football club. So we want to be successful. We want to be getting the best players in through the door. But there are so many players to get out the door as well. Me myself, I'm expecting a massive window. So many players going out the door. So many players coming in the door. This is not just a refresh. This is like a major rebuild. So a new manager, lots of new players. Show the likes of Harry Kane that we mean business. Show real intent. Show ambition, and show the fans that you're going to back this manager and get us back into Europe. Because of course we're not playing European football of any shape or form next season.
I mean, Chris, I know you probably don't want to name everyone, but what kind of players do you think? Because I've got a list as well that you think need to get out the door before he can start bringing other players in.
Well, it's the same players that you guys mention, on a weekly basis, particularly Jamie O'Hara. You're talking Sanchez, you're talking Tanganga, you're talking Eric Dyer. These types of players, their time is up. Hugo Lloris looks like he's going as well this summer. There are so many players, but we needed to have refreshed in previous windows. We haven't done that. Every single time, I think it's very, very fair to say, a lot of Spurs fans feel the same way. When a player of real quality has left the football club, whenever we've brought in a replacement, they haven't been of the same quality. And that is probably why we're not playing European football next season. And we finished where we did in the league table. It's about now, moving forward as a football club, showing real ambition and changing things and trying to get back into the Champions League because, all of the teams around us are spending big. They're going for real quality players. And, without naming all the players we're being linked with, we're always linked with top quality players, but then we end up getting players of less quality, which is not what we want to do and not where we want to be as a football club. So it's all about ambition now, the board showing the manager that he's going to be backed and showing the fans that we mean business because, us Spurs fans, we pay a lot of money for season tickets. We follow the club all over the place and we just want to see ambition. We want to see real intent from Tottenham Hotspur.
Chris, the left-hand side centre-back has been an issue for Spurs for quite some time. Ben Davies has fitted in a 3. It looks like Postecoglou is probably going to play a 4. There are players that can fit in. Longley come on loan. Not sure whether that deal's going to get done. What are your thoughts on that particular area? It looks like he's going to play a 4, right? But you still need someone in there.
It looks like he's going to play a 4, yeah. But to be honest, Jason, last summer, Antonio Conte was talking about signing someone like Bastoni, real quality players. And now there's lots of talk about us signing Lenglet on a permanent deal for around £5 million from Barcelona. So it just depends on how we perform in this window, because are we going to go and show real intent? Are we going to go and sign real top quality players from European leagues, or are we going to put up the likes of Clement Lenglet coming in to Tottenham? That is certainly not what I want to see. I certainly don't want to see players like Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez in our back line next season. We've got to move forward. This window is all about moving forward, and with a new manager. And like I said earlier, when you've been through the quality managers that we have and we haven't been successful, we need to do things differently as a football club. The board need to do things differently. And a director of football, we need to get one of them in as soon as possible.
I mean, Chris, one of the major stories always in every transfer window, it seems, is Harry Kane. And I think I'm one of the only ones at talkSPORT who's not trying to sell Harry Kane, to be honest, away from Spurs for obvious reasons. What would your gut instinct be? Do you think he will be a Spurs player this time next season, yeah?
I do. I think he will give Spurs one more year, and it's a different story next summer because, of course, he's got so many choices next summer. But I do think he'll be a Spurs player next season. He's gunning for that Alan Shearer record. Of course, he's breaking every single record under the sun right now. But I do believe that he will give Spurs another year, and I just want to see the likes of Harry Kane lifting a trophy down the high road. I'd take a League Cup, I'd take an FA Cup, I'd take anything, because players like Harry Kane, with what he's delivered at Tottenham Hotspur, he deserves it.
Just on the back of that, the way that Postecoglou, certainly, look, I can't pretend that I've seen a lot of Celtic. I saw them in the Champions League. I saw bits and pieces in the big games, but I think we all know and expect, or what we think we know and expect what he's going to do, that high press, high intensity, high energy. Are there any players in that team right now that concern you? And the reason I've asked that is a lot of people have made the point, Danny Murphy made it a couple of weeks ago, that he feels that maybe Harry Kane's style doesn't quite fit in with the way that he might want to play. Even though he's a wonderful striker, I just wonder whether that might compromise the way he plays. And also, he will have to change it again next season if Kane does stay for this season.
I don't buy that at all, Jason. I think that Harry Kane will walk into any team around the world. I think he's just an incredible striker. Whether he wants him pressing or not pressing, he can deliver assists, he can score goals. The guy is absolutely wonderful. He's like a Glenn Hoddle and a Jimmy Greaves all in one. Absolutely unbelievable player. That's why he deserves trophies, as do all of us fans. But Harry Kane, I do expect him to be a Spurs player next season. But next summer is going to be huge for us again. But we do need to just show intent in this window. Show Harry Kane that Spurs mean business and we want to compete at the very highest level.
I mean, Chris, I don't know if you've heard the subjects we've been talking about. And one of them is the player that's been the biggest flop at your football clubs. I mean, Tanguy Ndombele comes to mind for me. Is there anyone you have in mind?
Well, there's 11 loan players coming back. And when you mention Ndombele there, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Spurs, quite often are criticised from a lot of Spurs fans about how much money we spent. £100 million on those two. They haven't worked out. Personally, for me, I'd probably cash in on both of them and give Postecoglou the money to then go and spend on the players that he wants in. But Brian Hill is another one. Of course, we offloaded Eric Lamela. We spent a lot of money on Brian Hill. It hasn't quite worked out. Sergio Reguilon, Harry Winks, Joe Rodon. There are so many players. This is what I mean about this rebuild. This is absolutely massive. This is a huge job, and it does slightly worry me that we're off to Australia in 3 weeks for the pre-season tour, and we don't have a director of football. Of course, there's been a restructure as well in the academy. Although the academy won two cups at the end of the season under 17s, 18s, there's been a complete restructure there. So that's going to be interesting. Yaya Toure and Dean Raztrick recently leaving, and Greta Steenston on the verge of leaving. So that's a big thing. And of course, we've got to integrate a lot of the younger players and use the youth system that we certainly didn't do under Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte. So a big shake-up on and off the pitch. But it is about, as I keep saying, it's about showing real intention and giving the fans something excited to think about and feel about. Because, when I look at transfer windows over the years, probably the last one that I got really excited about was Klinsmann back in '94. That was what I mean by that. We've had some wonderful players since, but signing a player a world-class standard at the time when he was world-class. Of course, we've had Gareth Bale, we've had Modric, Van der Vaart, we've had some great players, but, showing that we can go out there, attract a world-class player that we want at our football club and move forward.
Just quickly, Chris, on Ange Postecoglou's appointment at Spurs, I mean, I really love this appointment. I think in terms of the two you mentioned, Conte and Mourinho, there's not as much pressure. But saying that, how much time do you think he will get, not only from the board and the owners, but from the supporters as well, if it's not going well at the start?
I think, Darren, if we can see entertaining football, because we have been starved of entertainment at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium these last few years. Of course, since COVID, we had Jose Mourinho and Nuno Espirito Santo wait 72 days for a manager to walk through the door. We've got Nuno Espirito Santo, and then, of course, Antonio Conte. I got extremely excited about the appointment of Conte, thinking this is finally the guy that's going to give us entertaining football and give us a trophy that we're long awaiting. But entertaining football is the absolute key for most Spurs fans. They want to be entertained. Ange Postecoglou plays super entertaining football. I can't wait to see that. Whether he can deliver it where he's delivered it before, because, of course, this is his big break in a top European league. He's done it in Australia, Japan and Scotland. So it remains to be seen whether he can do it in the Premier League, but let's hope so.
Chris, I have to say, from the outside looking in, I think this is the perfect appointment for Spurs. I think this is exactly what they need. Slightly understated, someone that comes with a point to prove. No ego. There's no living off what I've done before. It's now what I can do for you now, what I'm going to do for you. And I think this is a super appointment. Just, listening to what the Celtic fans have said, following and looking back over his career and looking at where Spurs are, it feels like the right fit. I'm guessing most Spurs fans feels like that.
I think, I certainly know from the first couple of days when he was appointed, I think a lot of Spurs fans were very disappointed because, a number of Spurs fans thought, like, who is this guy? But since then, a lot of people have gone away. They've done their research. And as you said, Jason, he has been he's proved himself everywhere he's gone. He's been successful everywhere he's gone. This is his big break. Let's hope that he can do it in the Premier League. But, Antonio Conte spoke last season a couple of times about Jed Spence and Dan Juma, to name a couple, about club signings. The signings and the transfer windows, they've got to be what the manager wants. It is all about what the manager wants. But when Darren spoke about the time, for him to get a 4-year contract at the club, that does please a lot of people, because this is like a real project. It does remind us a lot of the Pochettino appointment back in 2014, because, he was kind of an unknown manager then, but we want someone to come and entertain us. We want someone to deliver good, attractive football, but hopefully the club will back him and, we'll be successful, hopefully.
Chris, just before I let you go, I really appreciate your time. How will the Mopo be received when he goes back as a Chelsea manager? How will the Spurs fans feel about that? Because clearly the affection is still very much there. I just wonder whether going to Chelsea, that's perhaps ruined it.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is, because none of us Spurs fans wanted him to go to Chelsea. Only a couple of months ago, a lot of the fans were singing his name. He was on the list. Most fans wanted him back, or Julian Nagelsmann. So that's why a number of people were disappointed when Ange Postecoglou got appointed. But since then, the excitement has built. But the reception that Pochettino will get, I think, will be very, very mixed. I think there will be a few people that will applaud him. I think there will be a few people that will do nothing, and I think then the majority of people will probably boo or shout something. But for what he delivered at the football club, I just think it's such a shame that he didn't deliver a trophy. He took us to a Champions League final, didn't spend a penny in transfer windows in 518 days. It was just a shame that he didn't get back more at the football club. But Jason, can I ask you how you feel as a Chelsea fan about the appointment? Because I think he's going to deliver great success there. Do
you know what? I like the appointment. I've always liked him. I felt that he overachieved at Spurs. I've said that many times. I thought the brand of football was good. There was a self-imposed transfer ban. Don't forget, you mentioned there about not buying players. Don't forget, you're also playing away from your natural ground. You're at Wembley. He got to a Champions League final. He also finished second in the league. He overachieved. He underachieved at PSG, overachieved at Spurs. But we need a manager with a real eye for how he wants his team to play. And right now we're a rudderless ship, and I think he's perfect for what we need. Bearing in mind where he's coming from, which is bottom of the second half of the table, come from 12th. But I'm not having this with Chelsea getting to 8th is a good season. I'm not having that. That Chelsea have got to be in and around challenging top 4 as a minimum next season. And he proved every season at Spurs he got there. I think I'm right in saying every season he was there. You might be able to tell me differently, Chris, but I believe every season he got Champions League football.
Yep, it was Europa League football the first season.
Oh, the first season, okay,
after, and he always delivered. It was great football, and probably the best brand of football I've ever seen as a Tottenham Hotspur.
And also, he had one hand behind his back. You know, sometimes two, depending what season you look at. But look, I'm excited, Chris. I really appreciate your time. Have a fabulous summer, and look forward to hearing from you soon. Top man.
Thank you.
There's Chris Cowlin there from the Spurs Chat podcast and also the talkSPORT Fan Network. This is the Transfer Insiders. He's Darren Ambrose. I'm Jason Cunningham. You are listening to talkSPORT. Get close to the action with Coral 18+. Big gambler.